Hi, I'm Dumbo Dan. Today we'll be checking out Hammers by Spitfire Audio. Now, that music I was playing was a quick mock-up. I spent about 15 minutes programming some stuff into Hammers just to get a feel for the instrument before we dive into a first look. I'm excited to check this out. This is an explosive collection of drums and percussion created by film composer Charlie Clouser. You may know Charlie from his scores from Saw, Resident Evil, Extinction, as well as his stint as a member of Nine Inch Nails. In collaboration with Spitfire Audio, Charlie has created over 1,000 sounds spanning 50 different drums, including hits, ensembles, performances, loops, and genre-bending warps. Hammers requires 100 gigabytes free space to download and install. It contains 58 drums across 8 different drum types with bass drums, surdos, toms, rototoms, darbukas, frame drums, scraped metals, and snare. Now, this is captured with Charlie Clouser's personal vision with variety and flexibility in mind, and we'll see how they've set that up for two-hand playing and consistently mapping things across the keyboard from instrument to instrument. It does contain reverse, normalize, and retro pitch mode, multiple mic positions, and mic mixes. It does run in Spitfire's standalone plugin, requires Mac OS 10.10 or higher, Windows 7, 8, or 10, and 8 gigabytes of RAM is recommended. Library normally sells for $299. You can pick it up on the special intro price of $229 until August 12th, 2021. And if you already own Originals Cinematic Percussion, you're eligible for a 30% off discount. Alright, I've got Hammers by Charlie Clouser up. You can see here the way that's set up. It's got an ensembles patch, which has all of the drum hits, flams, roughs, and rolls. Then there's individual patches for each of the instruments of those 8 drums that have been recorded. There's loops and then warps, which are really cool, sound design. And first thing we're going to do is dive in and listen to the ensemble patch. This is the thing that I might get the most use out of just from kind of flipping through it and getting an idea of what it's all about. Basically, you're able to do key switches between hits, flams, roughs, and rolls, and you've got all of your drums across the entire keyboard. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic just so we can hear the articulations. I'll play all the way up. So I'm really loving the sonic experience, I guess is the best way to say it, of just listening through the hits. They've got real clarity, tons of bite. They're nice and rumbly when they're low, when it's a don't hear. And here, let's listen to the reverb off and reverb on. So that's just in instrument. Now, when it comes to adding subtlety to the instruments themselves, having these flams really can add a lot for programming. And I like how it seems that it increases with the length between the first hit and the final hit on the flams. as you go up the keyboard. The roughs are even more exaggerated with the grace notes. And then last but not least is the rolls. And what I like about this, the way they've set this up, you've got your mod wheel for your dynamics, so you can really control any kind of crescendo, decrescendo, any kind of dynamic range you'd want to add. Moving on from the ensembles, we'll just look at a few of the single instruments because there's a couple things that's kind of cool in the way that they've set this up. Of course, we'll check out the bass drums. Probably want to get a feel for how these can be played here. This is a solo damped articulation. Right now you can see right here the two-hand layout is set up. So we've got left and right across the keyboard. And then it kind of makes sense to me the way it's laid out, where you've got a single hit, a flam, a more intense hit, and then your rolls. And then here you got stacked with 4 different players. Moving on, let's check out the Surdos and the toms, and we'll listen to a couple other of these as well. And let's listen to the toms here. And you can see right away that the layout for these is consistent from instrument to instrument. So we've got the same kind of where the flams are, where the rolls are. For the toms here, we got solo, 2-player, 4-player, with rollers, with brushes, and then I think in one of the videos, Charlie mentioned that they didn't originally intend on recording a snare drum, but I'm glad they did because I really love the sound of this one. Let's listen to the frame drum too. I want to hear the frame drums. And they've also got it with brushes. Yeah, I like the sound of that. And I like how it's recorded in studio here, so we could go real dry. It's got a really nice stereo spread on all of these. I really like the definition across those. I'll listen to, let's listen to the scrap and see what this is. With different beaters. All right, before we dive into listening to the loops and the warps, let's take a listen to the microphone options we have with this instrument. I'm going to load up a simple rhythm I just kind of laid down in MIDI, and we're going to flip through the mic positions just so you can hear what the options are. I may play around and do a little mixing of the individual mics once we get to those, but these mixes are pretty cool. I really like mix 1 right out of the gate. Let's just mute the mic and I'll play back and you can watch what happens. All right, this is pretty cool. I like how they've given us the sub on a separate channel if you really want to bring that out, or for those who want to bounce down and have their microphone mixes all on separate tracks for mixing. The only thing I have a critique with this layout is I would like to see mix 1, 2, and 3 right here, and then I flip the channel over and see all of my individual mics on the next one. And right now, you have to jump back and forth if you want to mix between close, overhead, room, your room PCH, overhead PCH, your sub, and your rear. So that's something I would have liked to seen different. I do hear a big variation between the mixes. They've got their own character for sure. You can get a lot out of the different mixes. But let's go ahead and jump into listen to the same exact thing, the same MIDI performance performed by the Surdo. And this is going to give us an opportunity to hear the microphone mixes and the microphones separately. For the Surdo, I'm going to turn down the reverb in the instrument, and we'll just do it again with the Surdo. again, from very drastic changes in the sound of the playback with just those mic positions. Let's do it for one more. Let's do it with the snare drum. We all know what a snare drum is supposed to sound like. This one has just a great bite with the mix 1. A lot of depth to it too. Now, what's interesting here with our mic positions is it seems to change with every instrument, and that probably is to benefit each individual instrument, like how Charlie would actually record these, how he would put them together, his options for mixing. He probably sets up a bunch of different mics for each drum. There's this crush. It's got a lot of bite to it. And now we get into what starts to really expand the instrument into something more than just a drum library. You got the ability to play loops back. And what's really cool about these, I'm not sure if they're looped and performed at all these different tempos, but it automatically detects your DAW and will switch to whichever tempo it thinks is best. Right now I'm at 130. But I can switch my tempo down, and you'll see it automatically is tracking which loop. And this is detected automatically, and here you have a way to trigger it via the host tempo, and you can see right here it's syncing each of these at different tempos. You can change this to key switches though if you want to perform this particular loop at 150. And then that way it keeps your tempo of your DAW by switching it to your key switch here instead. So let's mute the mic and listen to a whole bunch of these percussion loops. And right away you can hear what not only do we have the loops up in the top, but we also have a whole bunch of hits. There's some reverse samples here, some just mega hits. So not only do we have the loops across these areas, we also have these reverse samples, which gives us something really fun to play with as well. Let's jump into some of the other instruments. Listen to the rototom loops here. And you can hear we got those reverses down there as well. And that's just one set of loops. You can see we got 5 different sets of loops here. So all kinds of little fun fills and performances there. Let's listen to the darbukas. Yeah, for having some instant excitement time dividers, these are really nice. There's, of course, a whole bunch of loops I didn't play there. We just want to get a good sampling of it for this first look. Here are some of the tom loops. Yeah, and some nice little reverses there. Getting a feel for the loops. Let's do some frame drum loops. Yeah, those are really nice. I think the more I'm listening to these loops, the more I'm digging what they're doing with them. Let's listen to these scrap loops. Yeah, I'm really loving the performances in these loops. I think they've got a lot of syncopation, and I love syncopated rhythms. I think it'll be great for adding. The next collection is warps, and this looks to be a sound design in its own loop form. Yeah, so my instinct is telling me these are the loops, and that they've done sound design and effects to them. And those nice reverse ones. A lot of fun helicopter stuff going on with these. Now, to make these warps even more useful, what the developer and Charlie have put together, I've got a MIDI beat I'm going to play, and I'm just going to go through and we'll listen to some of these different warps, and you can kind of see the different characters you can get out of them. So taking into account that you have all these different warp playbacks, this gives your loops so much more usability instead of just having the warp 1 that it loads up with, where we've got this sound here. You can find another warp version, maybe loop in and out of it, fade in and out. Pretty cool. Final thoughts here for hammers. A percussion library can go a few ways. There are percussion specialty libraries, orchestral libraries, there's cinematic libraries, there's specialty libraries like this when you're capturing the sounds that a specific composer is using for his work. Not only do I think it excels at capturing the sound of Charlie's studio, the instruments he uses in his score, but I think that it's very well thought out. Like the mapping, the ability to go into two-hand layout mode, the jumping of the loops, that's just something that makes a lot of sense, changing your tempo and going to a different set of articulations for loop playback. The warps here are one of the really cool gems of this library. I think composers are going to get a lot of use out of these because there's not quite really anything like it out there, having the ability to fade in and out between those different warp mixes as they have them there, jumping between different warped signals. It really does have a cinematic sound. It sounds instantly like a score. I've had the pleasure to hang out with Charlie on a couple different occasions, and I know he is a true sample hound. At one point, he told me that he tries to buy almost everything that he sees on Sample Library Review, which was very flattering, knowing that working composers out there are watching the channel, keeping track of what we share as news and the things we find exciting. So I think it's only fitting that Charlie's release here with hammers through Spitfire Audio is so well thought out, so well developed, and so easy to use. That mock-up I played in the beginning, that only took me about 15 minutes, and I was doing all kinds of different things with assigning the warp faders and mic mixes to MIDI CCs, as well as already thinking about playing two-handed on the keyboard or jumping to grab a quick flam right there on the keyboard ready to use, as well as those rolls tied to that velocity layer. Very well thought out, really nice sounds, and I think it's a great instrument. I won't be surprised if we hear this in a number of trailer cues as well as film scores, and I don't think I'd be surprised at all if we start hearing some of hammers in songs or more alternative music. If there was any critique I have, it's really that I wish they would have done one more instrument, gathering the same articulations from the range of drums and mapped them to a simple standard MIDI kick, snare, and tom layout. That would have been really fun because with that, I would have been able to use existing drum beat loops and instantly used hammers just by loading the instrument up. Now that's something that I can do, I can work around, I can reprogram, but I think it would have been really cool to have that instrument laid out as traditional drum set mapping on a keyboard. But those are just my thoughts. Love to hear what you think about hammers. Is this something you're interested in? You excited about it? You're going to be picking it up? Has the video been helpful? Please comment below and let me know. Your comments continue to guide the channel so I can keep making videos relevant and helpful for you. If you're not already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And head back around on Fridays for the weekly Dio Compressor Show, where we share the new releases and the latest sales announcements.